Yeah, and you know what? I'm just gonna save the best for last. All right. Tonight, I would like to welcome, with fear, loathing, but mostly love, someone who is just now finding out that I'm pregnant, Kyler!
Holy shit. Ain't no rule says you can't be a beautiful man. Thank you guys all for coming out. I'm going last, and so I'm just gonna kind of go. I'm gonna do some material that isn't really part of my set because it happened to me yesterday. I hope that's okay. Yeah. So yesterday I had a job interview in New York City, and that went fine. The job interview went well, but I had a weird time getting to the job interview. They put me in a hotel the night before, and so in the morning I got up, I was ready to go. I'm on the 15th floor of this hotel near Times Square, and I try to get into the elevator to go down to the lobby, and it takes me 20 minutes. It takes me 20 minutes because every time an elevator comes to the floor, it's packed full of Eastern European tourists. And when I try and get into the elevator, one of them will just go like, no, and push me out of the elevator. This happened more than once. So finally, one comes, I see an opening. There's 10 other people waiting. I just cut in front of all of them. I grab my bag, I bring it in, I just shove myself in. I verbally just yell, sorry! And then it occurs to me, this is why everyone in New York is a dick. You have to be. So I'm running 20 minutes late. I get out of the hotel. I hail a cab. The cabbie comes up. I tell him where I need to go. I think, okay, fine. I'm gonna be maybe like 5 minutes late, but we're gonna get there. Everything's gonna be okay. My day hasn't been like ruined yet. And as I'm thinking that's when my cab driver hits a bike messenger. Not like, don't worry, he was fine. He was fine. This is funny. Okay. That's why I'm telling you. It's funny. He hit really slowly. They both hit each other really. The bike messenger sort of, I've never seen someone flip a bike so slowly, but he just went up and over onto the hood of the car, and then sort of slid off onto the ground, and then stood up, and he was mad, which is understandable. And so I'm already like in a panic because I'm late, and it's just like, okay. It occurred to me at that time, I don't know what to do in this situation. I don't know what you do when you're in a cab and the cab hits a guy. Like the cyclist, he stood up, he was sort of disgruntled, he was holding an object. I'm not sure if it was like a piece of the bicycle or like a wrench, because in my head it was just like, that's big enough to maybe smash a windshield. And so the cab driver gets out, they're yelling at each other. I can't understand what they're saying really. I think it was English. They were just sort of yelling, they were making noise. And it's just like, what do I do in this situation? Do I leave? Can you leave a cab if you just hit someone? Is that what you do? Do you wait it out? Is it a rule in New York City? If you hit someone, you have to fight them? Do I have to go and back one of these guys up? Like, do I have to pick a side? But instead, I just sort of followed my true nature and sat there. So they eventually just run out of like noises to make at each other. And the cyclist leaves, the guy gets back in the car, he drives me, he gets me to where we're going. I pay with a card, and when you pay with a card in a New York cab, you sort of have to pick how much you tip, but you have to tip. The minimum is like 20%. And so I picked the minimum, and just as instinct, I felt kind of bad, because like, I picked the minimum, oh no. But he did hit a guy. So, I think he understood. All right, that wasn't part of my act. I just thought you guys might want to know about that story. That was pretty sweet. It was the most New York day of my life. Also, by the way, if you're ever in a job interview, tell them with every person you talk to, tell them, even if it's not true, that your cab hit a guy. Because that is a great icebreaker. People will think you're hilarious. I found out. So now I'm going to actually start the set I was planning. We're going to do that. So I'm Kyle. Hello. Hi. Thank you all for coming again. if you know me and you've seen me perform before, you might recognize a little bit of the material I'm going to be doing. I'm sort of rehashing some of it, but it'll be different. It'll be better, hopefully. Like, a lot has passed in 2 years. I have facial hair now. Like, it's gonna be good. It's good. I have facial hair. If you don't know me, let me introduce myself. You know how, like when you're in an airplane and your trip's sort of over and you land and you taxi up to the gates and the plane stops and everyone takes off their seatbelts, even though the sign is still on. You're supposed to wait until they turn the sign off. The sign's still on. Everyone takes off their seatbelts. Sort of wait, maybe half a minute passes, and then you hear the bing, and the seatbelt sign turns off, and you hear that single pathetic click from that one guy who actually waited until the sign was off. That's me. I'm that guy. Hey. So I'm from Arkansas, which is pretty cool. Any other Southerners here? Clap if you're you. One. It's kind of weird to point at one person. Oh. That does not, Miami does not count as the South. Everything north of Orlando is the South, which is a little counter.
Souther.
This is getting off the rails. So I like being from the South. I think Arkansas is a pretty cool place. It's an interesting place, no matter what you think. It's the only place I've ever been cock-blocked by Jesus, so that's something. But when you're out east and you're from Arkansas, it's sort of a novelty. Like, people see you and they're just like, when they find out you're from Arkansas, it's like really interesting to them because I have this conversation on a fucking weekly basis. Someone's like, oh, you're from Arkansas, that's crazy. You don't seem like you're from Arkansas. But you don't know anyone from Arkansas, so like you can't make that judgment. You're just playing all those stereotypes that you have. So what you're basically saying when you say that is, oh, you're from Arkansas? That's crazy. You don't seem like the product of incest. To which I reply, oh, that's crazy. You're from Massachusetts? You don't seem gay. Now hold on. I'm not equating being gay with being inbred, all right? Those are very different. Being gay is, that's just how you are. It's totally great. It's natural. It's something you're born with. It's genetic. Being inbred, though, that's a lifestyle choice. That is, you don't have that is a choice you make. Like, if your parents are related by blood, that's a choice. It's okay to make fun of inbred people. That's all I'm saying. It's totally cool laugh at me doing it. I know maybe some of you were a little uncomfortable when I had sort of a joke about gayness, and I want to reassure you it's okay for me to talk about those things. I'm not gay, but I'm pretty sure my parents wish I were gay. Let me explain. Every time I'm talking to my family and an issue like a news story or something comes up involving homosexuality, my parents are always very quick to assure me, yeah, Kyle, if you were gay, we would still love you just the same. Like, it would be totally fine if you were gay. We would love you just as much as we love you right now. And I it's very nice. And I reply like, that's great. I know it's great to have parents who would be so accepting of that and so open-minded and so nice. But I've had several girlfriends in the past. I'm pretty sure I'm straight. And they're just like, yeah, well, if you were gay, we would still love you just the same. If you change your mind. I'm pretty sure my mom especially wishes I were gay, because she's German. Alright, because I think she would love it if I were gay, because then she could call up her friends back home and be like, oh, look how progressive we are, my son's gay, please stop hating us. My mom has told me more than once, Kyle, I think you should get your ears pierced, but only one ear. I don't know. Michael Jordan, basketball player, he had one ear pierced for a while. Maybe they just wish I were black. Maybe I'm reading it wrong. That's fucking stupid. That's terrible. last year I was in Berlin, the German one, and when I was there, I saw this billboard. It was an advertisement for visiting Austria, like visiting Vienna, the city in Austria. And it was an English language billboard, like put out, I guess, by the tourism board or something. And I found it very striking to me because apparently Vienna's English language tourism slogan is Vienna, now or never. I don't have to explain why that's fucked up, right? Like, if you're gonna advertise a city, you shouldn't imply that something apocalyptic is about to happen. I already talked about New York earlier, but this is a different time. I like riding the subways in New York. They're cool, it's fun, you just go underground, you meet people. You don't want to meet the people, but you meet them. And so last time I was in New York on the subway, I was wearing a shirt. It was a very compelling shirt. It had like a picture of a kid and had a mustache and he was holding a gun. This is important, I'm not just like thinking you wanted to know what I was wearing. And so I was standing just with my arm, just holding the metal bar, not really looking at anything like you do. And then I feel a tug at my shirts, and I think, oh, what was that? Oh, it's a lady I don't know, a total stranger. She's grabbing my shirt. Cool. And so I look at this lady, and she's like very clearly drunk. She's with her boyfriend, or some man thing. And he sees the situation. I don't think he's as drunk as she is. And he's just like, honey, don't grab people. Like a mother to a 3-year-old son is like, honey, don't grab people. Don't grab people. And then her response is, I wanted to see his shirt. If he didn't want me to look at it, he wouldn't have worn it. So I walked away from them, because that's the thinking that leads to rape. And I didn't want none of that shit. So I ended up on the other end of the subway car, and if you've been on New York subway cars, you know that they have like seats designated as priority seats for persons with disabilities. And so I'm pretty dumb. So whenever I see those signs and I see people sitting there, my first thought isn't like, it's priority. Like if you see someone there, like they're usually just someone who wanted to sit down and no one really needed the seat. But in my head, whenever I see someone sitting in those seats, it's, what disability do they have? Ooh, I wonder, that guy looks healthy. Maybe he's got some psychological thing. I don't know if that counts. So I'm walking away from this lady and the shirt, and I get to the other end of the car where the priority seating is, and on that day, that specific car, there happened to be sitting in the people with disabilities section, just this entire Chinese family. And I legitimately had this thought. This was an actual thought that I had. This wasn't with any sense of irony. I thought to myself, oh, you guys, cheer up. Being Asian is not a handicap. Have faith in yourself. I don't know if that makes me a good person or a bad person. Do you guys want to hear some observational comedy? Some observational humor? Like Jerry Seinfeld noticing things and then relating them back and then, yeah. Hey, okay. So have you ever noticed that you can eat animals, like culture that's okay, you can eat animals, like you can kill and eat a pig, but you can't have sex with it. Like you can't, stay with me. So you can kill it and eat it, but you can't fuck it. And in our society, that's how it is. But for people, it's the exact opposite. Like you can have sex with someone, but you can't eat them. Like you can't eat a person. That's not okay. Not in Obama's America. Maybe it's just me, but I think it's a weird double standard. Like I think you should either be able to fuck everything you can eat, or you should be able to eat everything you can fuck. I don't understand why you can sometimes only do one and sometimes only do the other. Maybe that's just me. Since we're talking about sex, I find it interesting. It's really interesting to me the way people always use sports metaphors when they're talking about the act of lovemaking. Specifically baseball. There's a lot of sex stuff about baseball. There's like first base, second base, third base. If your there's like pitching and catching, shortstop, I don't know. But I never really found the baseball metaphor really works for me. I think for me personally, sex is a lot more like the game of cricket, because I have no idea what's going on. Or possibly sex is like the game of polo, because it's better either underwater or with a horse. Those two are fake, but really, I think for me, sex is the most like bungee jumping, because it seems like it would be a cool thing to do. I need to call that out. I don't want you to get the wrong idea of me. I'm not a virgin, technically. So don't. I would never have sex with a blow-up doll. I don't really have a joke to go with that. In case you were wondering if I would have sex with a blow-up doll, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it because I don't know if you're familiar with like the standard American blow-up doll, and I don't think they're called that. That's just what I'm gonna call it. But if you've seen them, right? They like inflate. Like it's not like I don't have one. Like I didn't buy one to find out. Like they're just you encounter one at least once in your life. Like I've been alive over 2 decades. I've seen a blow-up doll, and don't judge me. Okay, so like because I wouldn't do it because it would make me feel bad. Not because I'm having sex with a piece of plastic, but because if you've seen like a standard blow-up doll, it doesn't just have like holes in the downstairs. It has like a hole in the mouth. But the mouth hole, and it's for, it's for that. But the way it looks to me whenever I see one is it's just this intense look of fear, like they're screaming, just like. And I would just feel weird doing that. I think I'm about out of, I wanted it in my set with a like really clever sort of like meta joke about writing jokes and like finishing jokes, but I'm still working on it.